Great. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am Brittany Franklin, and I'm the founder of Minorities in Film, which is a collective for filmmakers that are in media, television, so that they can work together and amplify their voices. We specialize in helping maximize stories and impact through marketing for people of color and people with disabilities in films. What that means is we create a lot of pipeline programming, but we always also create showcases and events and work with filmmakers to create packages to get their films out there in innovative and traditional ways. So we are all about film festivals. We're all about indie community screenings and also showcases. One of our showcases we have upcoming, the Make News, Make Noise screening room, will be premiering in LA and New York, September 5th and September 8th, respectively. And those filmmakers will have their film screen online on Kinema. So we're really excited about that. In our journey to getting our films showcased, we have thought about our partners in the past and the partnerships we want to have in the future. And Urbanworld Film Festival was definitely one of them. We've learned from them over the past 28 years, and we're excited to see them at this year's festival. So I'm so happy to introduce Karen McMullen to the conversation so that she can share the wealth of knowledge she's garnered over the years. Yes, come on, come on.
Hi, everybody. Wow, what a full house. Thank you all for showing up. It's great to see folks.
Yes. Hi. Now I want to utilize the chat for you guys to drop in your name, where you're based. Also, if you've had your film screened or you submitted to Urbanworld Film Festival right now, so that we can go into introductions. But first, while we're doing that, I would love Karen for you to introduce yourself and tell us the backstory on how Urbanworld Film Festival started all those 28 years ago and why.
Wow, that's a whole lot to say. Okay, so my name is Karen McMullen. I am the festival director and the head of programming at Urbanworld Film Festival. This is my third year as the head of programming and my second year as the festival director. I'm also a senior programmer at Doc NYC. I'm a member of Brown Girl Doc Mafia. And I started my career in film as an editor. I worked on MTV stuff. I worked on talk shows. I worked on a bunch of Spike Lee movies. I've worked on documentaries. I've worked at Black Side. I've worked in a whole lot of capacities. I did that for over 20 years and decided I wanted to try something else. And I always liked film festivals, so I thought I would give programming a try. I was a screener at Sundance, and I was a programmer at Tribeca. Like I said, I'm still at Doc NYC, and I've been a juror on a bunch of film festivals: the Pan African Film Festival, the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, the let's see, Thessaloniki Greek Film Festival, International Documentary Festival, the African Film Festival here in New York, a whole bunch of them. So yeah, I'm firmly ensconced in this place. I was happy to learn to land at Urbanworld. I used to attend here years ago when I first started getting into film. And Urbanworld was started by Stacy Spikes in 1997. At the time, there's no other place to see Black film, or not that many outlets for Black films. The major film festivals then and now don't really highlight POC stories, and there was no streaming at the time. So really the only place you're going to have the chance to see a short film was at a festival, and they weren't getting admitted at a strong rate, according to, Stacy saw it, and he was right. And so he created Urbanworld. And it's been going on. Urbanworld shows features, narrative features, documentary features, short documentaries, short narratives, animation, experimental, and we have a young creators category and an environmental and a social impact category. We used to do music videos. We're not doing those this year. And we also have a screenplay competition, so screenwriters can submit their work. So that's about it for me. Our festival's taking place this year, November 13th to the 17th in New York City. I hope you come by. We're busy getting it together, which means renting the venues and screening the films and hiring the seasonal staff and designing the programs and all the things that it takes to have a festival go on. So I hope you guys will come through when we get that together.
Yes, I hope you guys join. And also if you have a film that you submitted, drop it in the chat. Thank you for sharing your intros. It's so nice to see everybody from everywhere here. Now let's move on to Karen. I know you have something that you would like to share with our audience, and then after that, we're gonna go straight into Q&As. So while Karen is speaking, feel free to drop in your questions again in the chat, and then we're gonna all come together off video. But again, you don't have to be off video if you don't want to, but we just want to make it personable. This is a good opportunity to get your face seen, your name heard, and also might be the rare opportunity for you to meet and speak with Karen directly. So let's go straight into, I'm gonna pass the floor over to you, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. All right, so I have a little slideshow that I entitled Demystifying the Film Festival Programming Experience and from acceptance and optimizing your chances for acceptance. Filmmakers always have a ton of questions about programming, what goes on behind the scenes, and I think it's only fair that people know and to help you put your best foot forward. I will start off by saying that the odds are pretty steep. So to give you an example, last year, Urbanworld had 1,400 submissions and we selected 80 films. So, and of those 1,400 submissions, there's probably a good 200 or 300 others that could have been in. So I just wanted to really start off by saying, take heart. If your film didn't get in the festival, it does not mean that you are a bad filmmaker. It means that there's more talented filmmakers and good films than there are slots. It's very much like American Idol. If you all ever watch American Idol, you know, the first couple weeks of the season, they go to town and everybody in town is like, I want to be, I'm going to be a star. Half these people can't sing. So there's a number, if this is all the submissions, this many people really have no idea what they're doing, right? These are the people at American Idol who just kind of there for goofs, right? They're not doing well. There's this many at the top that are amazing, super talented. Any one of them could be the American Idol. And there's a lot in the middle that have something, right? They're good to very good. Either they have a lot of style, but not a lot of technique, or a lot of technique, not a lot of whatever. There's a mixture of things. And so that's what the programming team has to wade through in order to select the final program. So just to let you know, not to get your feelings too hurt. This is part of the game. And, you know, with that, I'll tell you what I know that can help you out a little bit. Now, I'm not so elegant with the screen share, but give me a minute. Okay. Okay, this is not the view I want. Hold on. View, maybe. I don't know. That's not good, right? Hold on. I'm a film editor. I'm not a PowerPointer. Hold on. We'll go with slideshow. Okay. Can you guys see that? All right.
Yes,
So
we can.
okay. That's the title of my lovely slideshow. Okay. So first things first, you've made your movie. You've hired your best crew. You put your best foot forward. One of my pet peeves when I was an editor is you fade up from black. Drives me crazy when you just like right on the first frame, just give it a 10 fade and fade up and fade out. Give your film a good name. By a good name, nothing too convoluted, nothing too crazy. Don't put backwards 3s instead of E's and, you know, things that you can't pronounce and all that other craziness. People want to look it up. You know, it's like, what is your name? Make it English. Don't have a whole bunch of exclamation points at the beginning and numbers and stuff. It makes it hard to find it. It makes it hard for people to look for it online. You're just not doing yourself any favors. Save your creativity for something else. It's not necessary. You've checked some things here. You've checked title safety. A lot of beginning filmmakers who are editing on their own or have a friend who's editing who has some talent but doesn't know all the rules will put titles and lower thirds right to the edge of the screen. If you've ever seen something and you see that the words are cut off, it's because they have not checked for title safety. I'm not going to go into what title safety is, but it's on any editing program. We'll let you know where your title should be. In short, they shouldn't be at the very, very end of your screen, or you're not going to see them when you go to a movie or you play it on a TV. Check the length that the titles play. Remember that your titles are there for people to actually read. So people will put it up there and it's off and you're like, what's the name of the person? I can't read their title. I couldn't read all the text you put on screen. Read through it. It's there for people to get information. So make sure that people can read whatever you put on the screen. Save money for a color correct, a sound edit, and make sure your length is good. Color correct is, self-explanatory. You want your scenes to match between cuts and takes. Sound edit, I really can't emphasize how important a good sound edit is. Believe it or not, audiences are more forgiving of bad visuals than they are bad sound. If people can't hear what's going on, they get really frustrated and they'll turn off your film. So that's a sure hallmark of amateur filmmaking is bad sound. And length. Shorts, the best lengths for shorts are between like 14 and 17 minutes. A little longer is okay. If we get like a 33-minute short, that's too long. If you go to film festivals and you see how shorts are being programmed, it's usually 6 or 7 films and of equal-ish length. If your film is 33 minutes and everyone else's are 10, it makes it very lopsided. If your film absolutely has to be 33 minutes, I mean, like really, really, because your goal is ultimately to have it play on TV, then do what you have to do. I'm not telling you how long to make your film, but I'm telling you it's easier if you're applying for a shorts program to keep it within those parameters. As an editor, I can tell you you can often cut it. There's rooms to cut. There's room to cut. And last, you've had some impartial feedback, not just your crew, not the actors, not your mom and them, not people who love you already, but people who will tell you honestly, I know you spent a lot of money on that shot, but it's slowing down the film. I know you really wanted your little sister in the film, but you can't act. Can we cut her out? You have to make hard choices and hard decisions. You have to be able to hear what people are saying. The people in the audience don't love you. They're not related to you, and they're not going to like your film if it's not a good film. So, put on your big girl pants and get some real feedback and make your film the best you can. Okay, understanding the festival landscape. There are different kinds of festivals, as you know, and you should know what they are. Some films are markets. Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, Venice, Berlin, people go there to sell their films. It's a finished film. They're hoping their film is going to get sold. Some films are just exhibition. Urbanworld is an exhibition. You want to see your film, you want to get press, you want to get exposure. And you should have an idea of what you're looking for when you're submitting to a festival. And sometimes it's a calling card. Short films, if you have your short, you are just trying to get your name out there. You're just getting your feet wet. You're making your first film. You're seeing if you want to do this for your lifetime. If it's an issue film, you're trying to expose a societal ill or something like that, you might want to do community screenings, go to your church, go to groups you're affiliated with, and ask for screenings there. And yeah, you have to get clear. You have to do a little research and figure out why, sit down. Don't just be on automatic. It's an expensive endeavor. So you should be clear about why you're submitting to a particular festival. So what goes on in a festival? You want to look at the film festival categories. All festivals don't have all categories. Our film has spotlights. We have studio and streamer films. We have young creators. Sometimes films will have a curator's block of like retrospective films. Sometimes a festival will just focus on local filmmakers or a specific affinity group, LGBTQ or Black or Asian or female. Other things that go on, that's the type of programming that a festival have. The other things you have in festivals are panels and talks. You don't want to just see films. There's often a lot of industry information at festivals. I just came back from Black Star. They had some beautiful talks about inclusion and funding and representation and all those things. Really helps further your craft to listen to the people that people put on panels. And last but not least at all are the social events. So, the parties and the writers' brunches or the filmmaker luncheons. And you really want to go to those and meet your fellow filmmakers and meet the industry people that are there. It's part of the fun, but it's also part of your networking job as a film professional. Who are the key decision makers in film festival programming? Well, the programmers are the big dogs. So let me, I'll get into that later, the nitty gritty of what the programmers do. The festival director has a lot of say in what is being programmed, and sponsors. So the festival director, me in this case of Urbanworld, we have oversight into the whole festival. So the programmers might find films that they really, really love and they're really wedded to, but the festival director might know that we're having XYZ film come from Netflix or XYZ sponsor there. So the programming might skew towards, making the festival more coherent. So the festival director often has a lot of input into what is programmed. And then there are sponsors, telling you all the truth. This is the film industry. This is not film friends of things we just like to see. It is a business, and film festivals don't have money, just bankrolls of money. So if a particular sponsor comes and says, we are going to give you, hundreds of $1,000s to put your festival on, will you put this trailer block, will you put this ad in your trailer block? Festivals are likely to say yes, because we have to pay our staff, we have to run a venue, we have to keep the lights on. Let's see. Okay. So back to figuring out what film festival you want to go to, you really have to do your research. You have to identify what festival is right for your film. Bigger is not always better. Everybody says they want to be at Sundance and Tribeca and, wherever, all the big ones, right? It's the same as when you went to college, you didn't just apply to Harvard, Yale, and Brown. You had some mid-range schools, you had some other things. And also, it's not like you can only get a good education in any of those three. You can have a good education elsewhere, and you can have a great festival experience at a smaller festival. You will often have a greater experience at a larger festival. Well, I won't. You're more likely to be treated equally if you're at a smaller festival. If you're at a festival with Quentin Tarantino and Ava DuVernay, they're likely to get the primo time slots and the VIP treatment. Whereas if you're at a smaller festival, you're as much of a VIP as anybody else, and that feels really good. There's just some validation there. Both of them have value, but just keep those in mind. And to that end, consider niche and local festivals. There are film festivals for everything. There are female ones, there are environmental film festivals, there's an architectural film festival, there's horror film festivals, there's animation, there's children, there's something for everybody. So your chances of getting in to a niche festival, if your film fits that category, is really strong. Also, filmmakers really like to, or film programmers really like to program local stuff outside of New York. If you're in New Orleans and you make a film about New Orleans, they really want to see that film. So keep that in mind. And that's partly because of interest of the community. And it's also partly because we do consider, when we're programming a film, how many of the cast and crew are local. We had a great film in our festival last year from New Zealand. It was fabulous. It's called Inky Pinky Ponky. It was so fun and we loved it, but none of the cast could come, none of the crew could come. And so audience attendance is a little light and the buzz about the film is a little light because people aren't there to promote. Let's see. While you're looking at your, doing your research on your festivals, look at their previous slates. Everything is, most festivals announce their lineups in the press. So you just Google Urban World 2020 and you'll see who was in and who was in the previous selection section edition. And you'll also see who the winners are. So you can start to get a sense of the type of films that various festivals play. And you can say, well, you know, my film, they've never played a film like mine. Maybe that's not the festival for me. Also reach out and talk to each other. You know, filmmaking can be lonely, but you know, as you're looking down that previous slate of filmmakers, if you know any of them, give them a call. You know, what was it like playing at Urban World? How did you like being at Black Star? What was good about it? What was bad about it? People will tell. And that's the best recommendation you can get. Read the requirements. So you go to Film Freeway, which is a great place to get all this information. Film Freeway also has reviews from filmmakers, although people tend to only put their good reviews on the website like anywhere else, but it'll still give you an idea of what works about a particular festival. You can find out how much it costs to submit, the categories, the premiere status requirement. Urban World prefers a New York City premiere, but we will play things that have played at some of the bigger festivals in New York if we really like it. It's nice to have a world premiere. You get more press for a world premiere, you get more audience attendance. So if you think about it, if your film has got into Tribeca and it played 3 screenings at Tribeca and you had another screening at MoMA, and then you're coming to Urban World, well, your cast and crew and your mom and all your neighbors have already seen it. So that's going to cut into the audience, and ticket sales are a consideration. And also, of course, consider the filmmaker demographic. You would be surprised. It says on our website that our festival is primarily for and by people of color. And we want either people of color behind the scenes in a prominent role or on camera in a prominent role. And we'll get submissions that are none of the above. And it just boggles to my mind that people have that much money for submission fees for festivals that won't get in. But similarly, you know, don't you go and submit to some film because you feel like going to New Orleans and in the fine print at the bottom, it says only Southern filmmakers are accepted. So do your research and save yourself some money. Let's see. Right. Budget your festival run. It is expensive. Film submission fees are expensive. Attending the festival is expensive. Some festivals fly people in, but not a lot. I think a couple years ago, my friend got into Sundance and they gave her $500. She lives in New York. So that's to fly to Sundance, put herself up, eat, the whole thing. $500 is not enough. It's a dent. But a lot of festivals can't afford to fly people in, even a big one like Sundance. So as you're budgeting how much you're going to pay your editor and how much you're going to pay for your color correct, budget in money for a festival run. That includes submission fees. Also your DCP, you're gonna have to make a DCP if that's the requirement for it to be shown at. And yeah. Okay, so you found the festivals that you want. You're gonna submit to Urbanworld because it's a great festival. Get writing. So there's a whole application, the whole submission form, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to fill out these stupid forms, but please fill them out. Fill them out as thoroughly as you can. There are people who just like, give me your email address and their name. Where do you live? Do you live in Brooklyn? If next year we're programming a community screening and we want Brooklyn filmmakers, I want to know where you live. Are you a male? Are you female? What is your ethnicity? Tell me. It's not going to, we need to know. One of the programming aspirations I have, because we are multicultural film festivals, I like to have a diversity in my programming block. So I'd like to know if there's a Latinx filmmaker and a Vietnamese filmmaker and a Black filmmaker and whatever, just have some diversity in the slate. Just tell us. Don't make us have to dig it up. We need information. As you're writing your cover letter, write a short cover letter. It doesn't need to be longer than the film. We don't need a dissertation. Everybody's very busy. We have hundreds of films to watch. But within it, let us know who you are. Tell us about you. Hi, I made this film for 2000. But what's interesting, what's fun, what's special about it? Trevor Noah gave us his vacation home to shoot. I'm a member of ADOC and NALIB, and they're going to promote it. I got funds from the Ford Foundation. Tell us so that we know once we'll love your film and like, okay, now we have to help market it. Who's going to help us? Who can we reach out to? If you've told us that the Ford Foundation gave you some money, we'll go tell them. And then they can help present a program or give you some money or something. So don't be afraid to name drop the people that are really involved with your film. Spell check. Please spell Urbanworld correctly. It's one word, capital U, not a capital W. And yeah, if you're writing to a particular person, make sure you're spelling their name correctly. It's just courtesy. Let's see. Yeah, as I was saying, complete the forms thoroughly if you can. Okay, now for the other assets you want to submit. If you have a trailer, if your film is 6 minutes long, you don't need a trailer. But if you have a feature film or even a short film, a trailer is nice. A trailer is nice for us. We can use it if your film gets in, we'll maybe run your whole trailer on a social media one day. You can run your trailer on social media. When we create our festival trailer, just clips of all the films that are in the festival, the editor is not going through 80 films in their entirety. They go through the trailers and pull the best clips. So it's really nice to have a trailer. Yeah, it's great to have a trailer. And we also like to have film stills because for Urbanworld, if your film gets in, we will make a marketing graphic for you that says, hey, come see Do the Right Thing on Wednesday, November 13th at AMC Theater 9. And we'll give it to you for you to share on your IG and your Facebook or whatever you're sharing your things on, send to your mama and them. So give us a film still. Give us your little bio. We want to know who you are, where you went to school or not. Again, short, concise, not too short. Don't have to be secret squirrel about stuff, but we don't need everything you've done since kindergarten either. 100-word, 200-word bios is sufficient. And a headshot. If we are going to do a feature on you, if we're sometimes we put headshots in the program, sometimes we don't, sometimes we put them on our website, sometimes we don't, but it's just great to see what your pretty face looks like. Let's see. Timelines and deadlines. Posted on Film Freeway is always the early bird deadline, the regular deadline, the late deadline, the extended deadline. Look them up. These tend to go up with each one, so submitting early is going to save you some money. The programmers are less burnt out at that point, so if they're watching your film with fresh eyes, they might be a little more enthusiastic about it. But if your film's not done till later, don't worry about it. I'm saying this to a bunch of creative people. I'm one submitting things on the last day. So, do what you have to do. But if you have a producer who's organized and can whip you into shape and get you to submit earlier, then you should do that. Feel free to update if you make a submission and then, you make a major change, like, hi, I submitted a 22-minute cut. It's now 14 minutes. I've re-uploaded. I hope you guys get a chance to take a look at that. That's good information. We'll take that into account. If you submit a rough cut, put a screen at the front. We understand what a rough cut is. If you're like, this is pretty much what the film looks like, not color corrected, temporary music, we're like, we got it. And so we'll watch it, and if we like it enough, when you've uploaded the final, we'll watch it again. So update, but don't pester. I guess I don't know who thinks that everybody has all this kind of time. We have 1,400 submissions and 100 other jobs to do, and they're filmmakers who feel like they can have this one-on-one dialogue with the programmers every day. It's not, it's annoying, and it's selfish, and doesn't help your chances. If people like you're a pain in the butt, we don't we don't want to deal with a pain in the butt. So be respectful of people's time and understand that people are watching your film and are gonna give it a fair shot. Oh, also feel free to ask for a waiver. Doesn't hurt to ask. We give waivers to students, we give waivers to alumni, we give waivers to people of our community partners, Black Films Place or Brown Girl Doc Mafia or Cinema Tropical, whoever our community partners are. People get like a 25% discount. Every single person writes says we're poor filmmakers and we spend all our money on production and we don't have money for submission fees. I don't want to hear that. We're poor. I'm poor too, okay? I'm poor too, and I have to pay my staff. I pay my screeners and I pay my programmers. So if you do the math and you say I have 1,400 people submitting, nobody wants to pay, but I have to pay people to watch your film, sometimes twice. It's an economic dance that doesn't work. That math doesn't math. So like I said earlier, please leave something in your budget for submission fees. But and ask for a waiver, but don't be a pest. Ask, if you don't get it, just go ahead and submit. Some festivals are more lenient. When I worked at Tribeca, they were making it rain waivers, so ask. But the smaller festivals tend to need the income to compensate the programming team. Tech requirements. I'm not a tech girl, but the tech format, if you're in Europe and you're shooting things on PAL, I don't know, is that still even a thing? I don't even know. But make sure your film is going to be able to play in America and American cinema. If you have subtitles, make sure that the version you submit has subtitles on it so we can see those subtitles. Vimeo and some of the other programs will auto-generate subtitles if the native language isn't English, but they don't tend to be really good. So if you're planning on having your film shown internationally and you have English subtitles, please submit that version and make sure they're in title safety so we can read them. and be mindful of delivery dates. If you submitted a work in progress and the final version is not going to be ready till closer to the festival, just make sure it's going to be ready into the theater, whatever the specifications are. It's usually 2 weeks in advance. You can't show up with your DCP for your screening and expect it to play. Films have to be ingested into a projection mechanism at the theater in order to play. So we need it ahead of time. We at Urbanworld are really good about tech checks. Doc NYC also, we really want your film to play with as bright as it's supposed to be, with the sound that you intended it. So when we have it, we can run through a tech check and make sure that it's going to look really good when your screening time comes. Let's see. Okay, let's dig down into what the programming team is. So the programming team is made up of a bunch of screeners who are people who give the films a first watch. It tends to be a large number of people. I'll give Doc NYC, for example, I think there are 30 screeners or pre-screeners who watch all the evaluations that come in. The screeners write their evaluations, they get rid of the things that really don't work, and they pass up the ones that are good and very good up to the programmers. And the programmers and the senior programmers will watch the films and meet weekly or bi-weekly and discuss their favorite films, what works for them, what they really are excited about. And they'll recommend on my committees that I work on. I like to have a diverse committee. I like to have all ethnicities. I want Asian, Latinx, Native, queer, straight, older, younger. I want all types of folks on my committee so that when I say, wow, I saw this Native American film, it's great, I give it to the Native American guy and he's like, yeah, nah, it's a whole bunch of Indian tropes that we don't need. I'm like, thank you, we're not going to play that. So we're really trying not to offend anybody. We're trying, we all have our biases, we all have our blind spots, no one's trying to offend. So we're trying to do our best to be very inclusive, and the purpose of these festivals is to be a corrective to these narratives, these tropes, these stupid stories that we see over and over and over about our communities. And so we don't want to be perpetrating the same stuff. So speaking from Urbanworld and what I know of Black Star and what I know of Doc NYC, people are very intentional about trying to get it right. The people who are on the committee tend to be film studies grads, filmmakers, film professionals, programmers from other festivals. We're like migrant workers. We go from festival to festival. Most screeners work at several different festivals. And yeah, it's not just people like, oh, wow, I like film. It's people who have studied film and who have a good eye, who've worked in film or can evaluate your film from a deeper level and be able to articulate why your film should or should not be included in a festival. Like I said, the screeners watch, then they get passed up. And then we have the hard work of picking fewer films than we have space for. Yes. Is that what I'm saying? We love more films than we have space for, and we'll narrow things down. Another thing I wanted to say about if your film does not get in, like I said, there's so many times where people there's like literally tears and anguish in the final selection rooms would be like, I love this film, please, don't we have space for it, blah, 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 why can't we do it? But if we already have 3 films about crossing the border from Mexico, even if the 4th one is also amazing, we're not just going to have all of the same theme film. If your film is, yeah, if there's redundancy in the film, if we've had it's a wonderful story about someone overcoming cancer, but we've had 8 films in the last year about it, we might not select it just to have something new. So again, don't take it personally. And people, well, I'll get into this in the next slide. Let's see. Okay, so increasing your chances of selection, aside from being thorough in your form filling out, networking and promotion. What do I mean by this? Well, I guess, networking does help, talking to other filmmakers, like I said before, and it it doesn't help as much as you think to know the programmers. At this point in my career, I know zillions of filmmakers. I love filmmakers. I really admire them as a director. As an editor, I never had the vision or passion to be a director. I so people who have an idea and they want to execute it, I have a lot of respect, but that doesn't mean I can program your film. I've had people at my house whose films I can't program. It's like, it's not that I don't like you, your film just doesn't fit in the festival. So cozying up to a programmer isn't really gonna help you out so much. It's just gonna make you both feel bad when you don't get it. um, Leveraging industry connections is more if you have somebody attached to your film. Like I said, if you have someone at a network or at a screening facility that can help you promote your film, to include that on your form. Brittany, I see you popped on. Am I talking too much?
No, but I do want us to get any questions that anybody
Okay.
has in. So, guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat, or you can put the hand raise tool up. But if this is all informative to you and she's answering questions as she go, then keep listening.
Okay, I'm almost finished. I have about 5 more slides. So um okay, so handling being rejected from the festival. Come to the festival anyway. If it's not hard, if it's in town, don't be bitter, don't be a hater. Go to the festival, meet the filmmakers, watch the films, and you can either sit there and say, my film could have been here, or my film isn't quite up to this level. And that's cool, you can try again. Look at the resubmission policy. Some festivals are happy to have you resubmit the same film. Some don't. Tribeca's like, once we've seen it, if we didn't like it last year, we're not gonna like it this year, don't do it. But Urban World's like, yeah, go ahead, because it might be a case that we just had too many of the same festival, same film type. And like I keep saying, keep it in perspective. It's just one film. It's filmmaking, film programming is subjective. They're films. You've gone to films with your friends, and some people hate films and some people love the same film. It doesn't mean your film is bad. It means that it didn't resonate with those particular programmers. If you get in, do the following. Be responsive when the filmmaker liaison asks you for your assets, for your headshot, for your blah, 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 blah. Answer them. We have 80 filmmakers that we have to contend with. We have so much to do once we get your film. We have to make a program. We have to get it in the blocks, blah, 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 blah. We have to write. We got to get it in the press. Help us. Give us information as soon as you can. Be very clear. If you're emailing us, put the name of your film in. You're like, oh, hi, my film, blah, blah, blah. What film? Who are you? What is your film? Just be clear in your correspondence. Be reasonable, meaning you'll get a select number of free tickets. We can't give your whole crew tickets. I know they made the film, but if every shorts person got 10 seats in a 80-seat theater, we would sell no tickets. So ask for what you want, but be understanding that film festivals have limited resources. And be nice, don't, people get real snarky real quick and they start being demanding, and everybody wants opening night, everybody wants Friday at 7 o'clock. It can't happen. So and programmers talk. Programmers will be like, did you see that film? Yeah, that film was great. The filmmaker's a pain in the neck. And like, oh, word, got it. And it's no fun dealing with people who are difficult. And there's so many filmmakers are so cool and so nice that we don't have to. And there's so many good films. So yeah, don't be ridiculous. and help with the marketing. Like I said, some festivals like Urbanworld will send you an asset that you can share. It's not a case that it magically gets marketed, especially in New York City. There's so much noise to cut through. If you think about how many things you're invited to every weekend, how many other things you could go to, Broadway, Yankee Stadium, you know, whatever else. If you're trying to get people to come to your program, help market. Ask all your friends, sell the tickets. It's you are key. And once you get in there, network with your peers. I was at a panel at Urbanworld years ago with Ava DuVernay. She was speaking on a panel, and she said, network across. The people who are going to help you most in this industry are the people that are on this, not me, but the people on this this Zoom panel listening. You know, you work on each other's films, you go to each other's screenings, help each other out, network, share information, you know, and that's who you're going to rise with. People would always apply to Tribeca and be like, oh, I can't wait to meet De Niro. And we're like, yeah, us either. We've worked here for 2 years. We've never met him. He's not hanging out. Okay. So know that the people who are going to help you most are your peers. And that's it. Good luck. Make your film. I look forward to seeing them. I hope I've been helpful, and I can answer some questions if you like.
Yes, okay, so I do see we have Kay Francis. Or actually, let's go with Kay. Kay, you there?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Hi, Kay.
Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me? Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good.
You mentioned this while you were speaking, and I had a question about it as well. So let's say you're a new filmmaker, and by the grace of whatever you believe in, you get into a film festival. But let's say you're based in LA and New York, and that film festival is like in Alaska. How do you promote your screening when you're not in that territory, region, state, or country, and you don't have, the network built in that space, but you would like to help promote your screening for that festival?
That's a really good question. Since I'm in New York, I've never had to think about that. But I would say you would still post it on your IG. You still want to share with your people. I would do some research on my own about what's going on in that town. I don't know if there's a sister church, if you're in a sorority, if it's community themed film that you could reach out to, if it's on, immigration rights or nursing establishment. If you're in a sorority, I think you just really have to think as hard as you can.
Outside the box, yeah.
But also know that, like, if it's a short film and it's going to be programmed at a regional festival where you're not, that the programmers are likely thinking how we think and say, she has a great film, she's not going to come, but let's put her film in a program with other local filmmakers, so the house will be filled.
Thank
And
you.
you can also when you get accepted, you can let the programmers know that I won't be able to come. How can I help? Do you have any suggestions? And can you put my film somewhere where local support will help?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And next we have Jordan.
Hi, Karen. Thanks so much for answering my question. I just had a question. So when we build the team to should we have an auxiliary team to kind of go to a festival as well? Because I've seen a lot of people that have had, statistically more success with festival outcomes kind of bring on like a festival consultant, they bring on a distribution consultant, they bring on a publicist who go with them and advise them all the way through the filmmaking process in anticipation of a festival run. Do you advise that for filmmakers, or is that more of like an ancillary kind of benefit?
I think if you can afford it, you should. It's just like, can you put on your own wedding? Yes. Is it better with a wedding planner? Probably. It's someone who's done it before and who knows how to navigate various systems. It's not a necessity, but it's a nice to have, for sure, I would say. But it's often a thing of money. That's not a cheap, it's not cheap to hire that ancillary staff.
Understood. And is there if I can ask, is there like a floating list of like of which of those you recommend, and like some of the names of the people that do that really well? Or do you have like a combination of, do you bring on a publicist and a distribution consultant, just for example, or just a distribution consultant? Or do you have like, as a programmer, do you have like a recommended ancillary staff, that you recommend to filmmakers if they do have the budget to afford it? What would you recommend, if I can ask?
Yeah, programmers don't tend to know that stuff. We're like film nerds that like watch our films and we write our evaluations and then we do a Q&A. I don't have that knowledge, and many of the programmers I know don't have that. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I know. I really don't.
Okay, well, thank you for asking,
Yeah,
answering my question. Thank you.
that would be a question to ask fellow filmmakers that have been successful in the festival run, to ask them what their strategy was in terms of using a publicist or a distribution company.
Certainly, thank you.
Yeah, and Jordan, just to add on to that, we do have filmmakers that have these publicists and marketing professionals to help with their strategy. And in the same way, if you have a documentary or impact focused film, there's impact producers that work with marketers for those strategies. So if you have, yeah, just reach out to Minorities in Film if you want to go deeper into that and what works best, and maybe we can connect you with somebody with a list. I
Okay,
know we're,
thank you so much.
no problem. I know we're at the 3:30 mark, but Karen, do you have time to stay on for a few minutes longer?
Yeah, I could stay on for another 5, 10.
Thank you. We have Ali Wisdom. Did I pronounce the name right? You had a question. You're next.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So, the question I want to ask is, I know somebody had brought up like publicists and stuff like that, but being that like I don't like have a publicist or anything like that, I wanted to ask, I just got approved of a screening my movie at a festival, and I wanted to ask, like, do you feel like it's easier to, like, two questions? Do you feel like it's easier to have like a publicist to like help you get distribution and stuff like that, and get your movie accepted for someone to buy it? Or like, if that question made any sense?
Uh, Probably. I mean, it probably makes sense to have someone who's working on your behalf, who knows film acquisition people. If you don't have those contacts, absolutely, it's going to help you get your film sold to have a publicist involved. Yes.
Okay, and also like as far as like panel discussions and stuff like that, for a filmmaker that's to get their film screened and things like that, um
I'm sorry,
and
Ali, you're breaking
panel
up.
discussion, or just
I'm
like
so,
a
Yeah,
I
and
didn't.
do you want to type in your question, because your audio is breaking up a little bit, so we didn't hear your last question. Yeah, your audio is breaking up.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can now.
God, hold on 1 second.
Okay, well, Ali, do you want
Hello,
to?
can you hear me now?
Yeah, Ali, why don't you type in your question in the chat and we'll come back to you.
Thank
All right.
you. I want to move on to Kennard and make sure that we get all the people who have their hand raised. Kennard Blackwell, hi.
Hey, how's it going? You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, you're good.
Um, hey Karen, thank you so much for your time here. My name's Kennard. I actually submitted a film to Urban World, so hopefully you get to take a look at it. It's called Monica's Painting. I feel like the festival process, sometimes when you're down in the depths of like creating and making your thing, it can be like an afterthought or it could be a thought with you the whole time. But I feel like it's a certain shift you have at some point where you're like, okay, how can we get this film to have the most exposure? And you don't want to change with the artist too much to bend itself to be exposed in a certain way. But my question is like, for you, especially as an editor, you're a filmmaker, when you're reviewing different films as part of the program and trying to develop it, are you viewing it as like a general audience member, or are you viewing it as a filmmaker? And so you're seeing like all the things behind the camera choices. I'm sure like people who aren't filmmakers may have good cinematic language, but I'm just curious, like, how are you viewing it? Are you viewing it as like an audience with no heavy criticism as a filmmaker, or are you viewing it as a filmmaker?
That's a really good question. And it's something we talk about in programming rooms. We'll see films, we'll see like a 3-hour black and white uh film about an Inuit, two people on an iceberg in Upper Siberia, and love it. Like, we love it. But we'll say, who's gonna come see that film? So sometimes we program some things just because we love them, and the art is high, and one of the reasons people come to festivals is to be exposed to something they might not have chosen on their own. But me personally, in the festivals I work at, we're mindful of the fact that you are still you do want to give the audience things that they want to see, right? So I think of both. It's like, this is an audience pleaser, and we'll write it in our notes. This is an audience pleaser. It goes down easy. It's enjoyable. It's not high art. We've seen the story before, but the acting is clever and the animation is great. And I think the audience will like it. There's nothing wrong with just liking a film while you're in the audience. Not everything has to expand your brain and your mind and your worldview. So yeah, but I mean, but I'm intentional about that, which is why I was saying earlier, I don't just program my friends. Like, it's like people are paying money. People are paying a lot of money to come sit there. And as I'm programming, I'm thinking, would I tell somebody to come pay $20 to see this? If the answer is no, if the answer is my friend would be mad at me if I made her spend $20 on this, I will say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't program that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ali typed his question in the chat, and it was basically asking the probability of a filmmaker, and I'm paraphrasing, but once they are selected, what is that probability of them being on a discussion panel? How does that panel curation comes to place for filmmakers at festivals?
Typically, panels are for industry professionals and people, established filmmakers, or people who can speak with some kind of authority on a subject. Usually the filmmakers who are in the festival, the independent filmmakers, aren't on panels. They are typically given a Q&A after their screening where they can talk to the audience and discuss their film in that capacity.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Ali. And then last, we're going to go to Angelo, and we're going to start wrapping up.
Hey everyone, gosh, this has been just amazing. Thank you so much. I wish all film festivals did this because it is super helpful. And I'm noticing it is getting more commonplace. Like when the foundations, when you're applying for a grant now, they'll have big Q&As beforehand. So a lot of the mystery is taken out. But I wanted to just address everyone here and just say that, I've been a filmmaker for many, many years, and tenacity really is your best friend, because like I said in the chat, I had a film that was perfect for Tribeca. The programmers did not think it was perfect for Tribeca. I submitted it 2 different times and we kept getting rejected. And I just said, this film is playing at Tribeca. I mean, it just is. And we managed to get invited to an event that I knew Jane Rosenthal was going to be at, and Robert De Niro was there. I did not have the nerve to go up to them and pitch my film. So I got a friend of mine to go up to them and pitch the film. And she basically put the film in Jane's hands. And Jane called me like 2 months later, and we got into the festival that way. So, I mean, I'm not saying that that is the trajectory on every film and how to go in there, but just because a film festival, like, you know, like you said, Karen, just because the programmers didn't feel like it was a perfect fit for this, it usually doesn't mean that it won't get into another festival. And I found that Q&As, you know, Ali, especially at a festival, is a perfect way to network because people hear your story. They hear the behind the scenes about how a film goes. People come up to you afterwards, and going to other filmmakers' Q&As. It's just a great way to build community. Film festivals are endlessly helpful that way. And I don't know, I mean, you know, my festival strategy now is to partner with people who really know festivals, whose films have played at festivals many, many times, and they just know the strategy of a festival. A friend of mine said, you should know your festival strategy when you're making the film. You should have a list of 5 festivals that you know this film would play at and would fit into. And that was really interesting because I just go off and make my films. I don't really understand like, oh, this would be great for this and that, even though that one film I knew was great for Tribeca. I don't think I've ever made a film after that that I knew was good for a certain festival. So that's all I had to say is just, you know, keep going, and, you know, it is a numbers game.
Thank you, Angelo. That's actually very inspiring and also very true. And I hope that's answered so many people's question, and also any emotional attachment you have to your film. Because at the end of the day, once it's out there and once you're submitting, you go into the business and being your own salesperson. And that requires tenacity regardless. And I know they say like, we never want to be salespeople, but we have to become salespeople at the end of the day. So Karen, is there any last minute dates you want to share with us? Any final information about Urbanworld Film Festival? Anything's upcoming before we wrap out this office hour?
Just reiterating what I shared at the beginning, our festival dates are November 13th through the 17th. Please come out. Our website is urbanworld.org. You can sign up to our newsletter there. Our newsletter is great because it also, we post about what alumni are doing, upcoming grants and submission dates for our partner programs and our community partners. So it's a nice way to find out what's going on. Also follow us on IG at Urbanworld Film Festival, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just stay connected, and yeah, please come out. We really be happy to see you. We try hard to put on a good festival, and good luck making your films. I admire you guys. It's not easy.
Same. We admire Urbanworld as well. Minorities in Film will be in attendance, as we always are. And we hope to see you guys at this festival. It's one of our favorite. And you can follow Minorities in Film on Instagram. But for that much, we'll see you soon at the next office hour. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday, Karen. And we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.